As one of his last acts as president, Donald Trump pardoned that guy, Steve Bannon, who at that point was facing charges for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering. In layman's terms, he conned a ton of Trump fans out of their money, and the Trump fans have just totally forgotten about it and don't have an issue with it. It's very weird, but there were a couple people who did not receive that pardon. They weren't lucky like Steve Bannon, and they actually just pleaded guilty yesterday to their role in raising all of this money, supposedly to build a wall between the US and Mexico, but instead they mostly just used the money to enrich themselves. Those two men are Andrew Bottolato, a venture capitalist from Sarasota, Florida, and Brian Colfage, who we've talked about previously. Now, the funny thing about this is, if you were donating to this effort, there were some warning signs that maybe it wasn't all on the up and up. Let's go to this video.
And now, here are your hosts, Stephen K. Bannon and Brian Colfage.
Welcome back. This is Stephen K. Bannon. We're off the coast of Saint-Tropez in southern France in the Mediterranean. We're on the $1 million yacht of Brian Colfage. And Brian Colfage, he took all that money from Build the Wall. No, we're actually in Sunland Park, New Mexico at mile marker 1.
Credit to the acting ability of Colfage, who he looked at him as the guy identified the literal crime they were in the process of committing and then had to smile at the camera, Ken.
And didn't he just admit that crime? That's what he pled guilty for.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing.
It couldn't be more specific. That's the crime they were committing, and they were doing it in part to buy a boat. Bannon, I don't know, was that like the most subtle shiv in the back that you've ever seen? Everything that he said was accurate. And now Bannon doesn't care. Stephen K. Bannon is doing just fine, but Colfage and the other guy are actually in trouble. And look, a judge says that they repeatedly and falsely assured the public that they wouldn't be taking a penny in salary or compensation, which obviously is not true. Colfage eventually admitted that he conspired to illegally receive money, even though they're saying they weren't gonna do that. They defrauded hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now that is a crime, a different sort of crime. It's not actually illegal, but it infuriates me is that they were able to raise $25 million from regular conservatives who trusted these chuckleheads to build a wall at the border as if that was a thing that they could do no matter how many millions of dollars they had. Eventually, Bannon himself, the guy who gets off totally scot-free in this, he siphoned more than $1 million out of the project, in part to pay Mr. Colfage, but in part to use on other things. Colfage, by the way, took about $350,000, a significant sum of money, and used it to renovate his home, buy a luxury SUV, a golf cart, cosmetic surgery. Maybe he got a permanent smile attached just in case his crimes are pointed out in live streams in the future. But also for this boat, a 40-foot vessel named the Warfighter, which, for all the other issues I have with it, that is way too many flags for one boat. It ain't a warfighter. God, these guys love to pretend that they're alphas.
It's a dinghy.
It's a dinghy. And it's a fine boat, I'm sure. But you're not going to war in it. Okay. Anyway, so look, Bannon, he's fine. He's off doing shows. The Trump fans don't have a problem with the fact that he scammed them out of a ton of money, but those other two guys are in trouble. They could go to jail for years.
Yeah. Trump supporter warfighter ship. Go F yourself. And you did. Okay, so he pled guilty, right? By the way, to John's point, Bannon makes a joke and he's like, that guy's going to jail. He pled guilty, okay? I mean, I assume he's going to jail. We're gonna do sentencing later, but those are serious crimes.
Yeah.
Now, guys, here's the thing I wanna focus on. For the right wingers, they didn't steal from me. They stole from you. So, I mean, this is their reaction to the story is going to be really interesting because do you not mind? I don't think you mind. That's my guess. I think you're gonna say, so what? Okay, it's your money, brother. I ain't got nothing to do with it, okay? So next time Steve Bannon asks you for money and he's gonna use it on yachts, etc., and so are his friends, and now you know they're guilty, you're still gonna send it to them. That is, to me, that's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. So it's, we kid around about the beta bus and stuff, but are we kidding? Because they celebrate these guys like they're alphas, but what is that a reference to? It's a reference to really the animal kingdom and apes. And there are real alphas and betas among different apes. And when there's an alpha, his supporters are betas. And they constantly, literally give bananas to the alpha monkey. And here they are, literally like, here, take my $25 million, use it for your yachts. Lie to me, I'm okay. Republican voters in mass are kind of admitting that they're all betas. And they literally gave their bananas to Bannon. Bannon proudly stole it. And then Trump proudly pardoned him. And now I assume the voters are like, that's awesome. I love the way they stole from me, right? Because remember, guys, look, it's hard to tell what their reaction to Bannon is. They seem to generally like him, the Republican voters, right? But for Trump, the reaction is clear. They love him. But Trump pardoned the criminal that stole from them. He didn't steal from us.
It's amazing.
He stole from you guys, and you're celebrating the guy who let off that criminal. That's amazing. And that's the power of brainwashing. And that's what's happened in this country. That's why anytime the media or Democrats react like, oh my God, this time the Republican voters are gonna turn. No, there's literally nothing you can do to turn a Republican voter. You could take $25 million of theirs and they'll still give you the next 25 million. They're happy to be taken advantage of. Yeah. They're proud betas.
You're right that this is sad. Like, that's what I take away from this, is how sad it is that these folks ran a campaign to fundraise money saying that they were going to build a border wall. And you have working class people around the country who are struggling economically. And they're told this story that the reason you are struggling is because immigrants are crossing the border and they are taking your jobs, when we know that corporations are exploiting their labor, skirting laws because they can pay immigrant workers less than the minimum wage. That's the story, that's the truth, but it's not the story that they have told. And so these people are very angry that immigrants are crossing the border, which, by the way, a lot of them are refugees coming from countries that US imperialism has destroyed. And now these people are told that they should donate to build the border walls so things will get better. And that money goes to luxury goods purchased by the people that are your supposed heroes. I mean, there isn't something that could paint the picture of the bait and switch that the Republican Party does better than this.
Yeah, if Adam McKay put it in a movie, they would say it's over the top. Okay. Yeah. And look, one of our members wrote in, Dragon with the Girl Tattoo wrote in, you can't fraud the willing. Now, hold on, don't give him ideas, because there's one guy who still has not been tried among the four of them. He has not, he was gonna plead guilty and I think he decided not to, right? Yeah. So he's got a trial coming up. He might literally call the people that they defrauded to the witness stand and have the Republican voters go, oh no, I don't mind. I know he stole from me, but I love it. I'm a beta to his alpha. Yeah. So I'll give more money right now, I'll do it in front of the jury. And I know that it's gonna go to his limo ride and his champagne and etc. I'm happy to do it. If he calls like 2 or 3 of those witnesses, he might get off.
Yeah, and you'll be able to find some. I mean, look, there's always people that don't like it. You know, the Trump University, there were some people who sued him with Trump with the recurring payments where he drained senior citizens' bank account of like $8,000 in 2 months. Some of them had a problem, but not nearly enough. The movement didn't dry up. So something like 99% are perfectly happy with this happening. Now, a little bit more information. Kolfage originally could have gotten up to 46 years in prison, but thanks to his plea deal, he's not gonna face nearly as much. Maybe 4 to 5 years, still seems like a lot. I wouldn't wanna go for 4 to 5 hours, so have fun with that. Badalato could face 3.5 to about 4 years. It could have been as much as 20 based on the charges he was facing without the plea deal. As Cenk pointed out, Timothy Shea backed out of his deal. That might actually bring Bannon back into court, which will be interesting. We have no idea what will happen after that. I do want to add one extra potential wrinkle, and I hesitate to even focus on this because I don't have any hope for the future, and I don't want to give you false hope. In theory, Steve Bannon is still under a separate investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And of course, as you probably know from the last year and a half of American political discourse, those pardons that were dished out like candy apply to the federal charges, not to state level investigations. So in theory, they could eventually get Bannon here. But who the hell is gonna like invest their spirit in that outcome?
No, and keep in mind, Manhattan DA's office is led by a Democrat, so of course it's totally impotent He's refusing to prosecute Donald Trump on several brazen, blatant crimes. Is he really gonna prosecute Steve Bannon? He's probably wetting himself thinking about it. Like, I don't know, what if Bannon calls me a mean person? The Manhattan DA is one of the biggest cowards in the whole country. So don't hold your breath waiting for that prosecution of Steve Bannon. Democrats in leadership in mass has decided that they will bow down to Donald Trump and his criminal gang. That's a fact.
It's almost like Bannon and his co-conspirators in making that video. It's like someone who's robbing a bank, going to the bank with the people they're robbing the bank with and saying like, haha, like we're gonna go rob this bank. And then saying, just kidding, we're making a withdrawal like usual, just usual business. And then they actually rob the bank. And it's like we have a prosecutor like looking at this video of them saying they're gonna do it. And then there's evidence that they actually do it. And they're like, no, we're not gonna actually like prosecute crimes like this. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, final thought. It's not like Bannon is just like a Roger Stone figure in the background, like a consultant or something, or like he organizes like hit pieces or something. He has a show. Like conservatives tune in to hear him, looking into the eyes and listening to the voice of a guy that defrauded them for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I will never understand it.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.